Welcome back to another episode of Smith Fishing Outdoors. I'm Fisher Smith, and today we got Rich Reinert with us. You guys might have seen the glider video if it's came out yet, but before we get into anything, we're talking about Topwater today. We are giving away a bait. Stay tuned to the end of the video to figure out how to win this nice, beautiful globe. We're going to show you this in the water, but first of all, we're going to go through all the Topwater baits, and we have a lot. So
what you're telling these guys to do, they have to watch the video.
Have to watch to the end to see
how they're going to win that globe.
Yep.
All right,
where should we start? Where should we start?
Here's the thing. You know, we were talking about gliders. Incidentally, everybody's sitting there going, what are you guys doing? Sitting around the pool, drinking martinis, or what do they drink around pools? Something like that, martinis or margaritas or whatever. Nah, we're waiting for the rain to quit so we can get back in the water and do what we enjoy doing. So
that's catching muskies.
So we're sitting in here, we're talking about musky baits. That's what we do. If we can't fish, we talk about musky baits,
we're
right?
still casting, there's just nothing coming in.
That's right. Jared, you know what? We got to say this. Jared Salisbury is, I guess you would call him the engineer at the Best Western Plus. And they've been so gracious. We were homeless last night. You guys got done fishing with Brian Schaefer, and we were homeless. And Jared jumped, he jumped right in, and he tucked us into bed here at Best Western Plus. They've got a great facility. They got a place to park your boats. If you're gonna come up to the Lakeland area and looking for a quality hotel, this is the place to come. His wife, Jared's wife, she's a general manager, awesome lady, works very hard to accommodate everybody here. Their breakfast is second to none. You're gonna get scrambled eggs or omelets, French toast. You're gonna get it all here. And
did you say French toast?
French toast. It was amazing.
With bacon.
Bacon too.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a full spread. They do a great job in taking care of this place. And it started raining today. It was a bummer. And so Jared came into work today, and he opened up the pool to us so that we could make these couple videos.
Yeah.
So
let's start on it.
All right.
Which side should we start on?
Well, here's the thing. Let's just mention this with Topwater baits, and it's the same thing. I don't know if it's the younger people don't want to learn; they just want to go do it.
Yep.
But in order to do it, you need to learn how to be efficient. In order to be efficient, you need to understand the baits you're fishing with. Topwaters are all not the same. So we're going to start with one of my favorite topwater baits. When you go fishing, when you go out musky fishing, I know what bait you're reaching for. You're starting to be, I remember when you first got your first Cisco Kid topper, and you just kind of ran with toppers. And so have I. I love toppers.
Yep.
But one of the baits that I almost love as much as toppers is walk-the-dog baits. Most musky fishermen, when they hit the water, what's the first topwater bait they reach for?
Anything loud.
Tail bait.
Tail bait, yeah.
Every time. And sometimes that's not always the answer.
Sometimes it is the answer.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
But a lot of times it's not. And you got so many people out there throwing tail baits all the time. If I see that on a body of water, I'm going to fish the exact opposite. Because I really believe, especially with topwaters, fish become acclimated to that sound. They'll follow, they'll swipe, but they won't eat. So when that happens, one of the very first baits I fish with, not only when they're not eating, but also post-frontal conditions, and we're hoping this rain's gonna quit, and it's one of the very first baits I'm gonna start out with, is a walk-the-dog bait. At one point, they were very popular, and then they kind of died.
Yep.
Okay? And since then, there's some tail baits that have come out that are truly awesome. They do a great job. I gave you one, a year ago? I gave you a Walk of Death.
Yep.
And what was your thoughts on this bait?
It's produced like 4 or 5 fish this year for us.
You like netting it for your dad, right?
Yeah, well, He usually
But didn't you have a
he
seven
usually
fish
picks
day
it
with
out.
this?
That was a part of our, yeah, we caught a couple of fish on it. Well, we're part of our 7 fish day. Yeah.
Well, this was the very first bait. I mean, there's a lot of good topwater baits, but there are 3. There's actually 2, and there's a third coming, and we're going to show that bait today.
Yep.
I absolutely love it, but it's one of those baits that have been tested for several years, and it's going to come out this coming year. So I'm going to let you start with this is made by Tom's Custom Baits. This is a Walk of Death, and Fisher's going to put it in the water.
Now this, as a walk the dog, I'd say it has a pretty wide, or not wide, a pretty tight side to side angle compared to others. But what it's also doing is, when it's doing that, it's creating that bubbly effect.
Actually, if the bait was underwater, you know, and your dad's knees are starting to wear out, that's what happens when you get older. You know, when you're working this bait, you know, coming through the water, you can work it slow.
Yep.
And when the water's calm as glass, you know, or there's a slight chop in the water, this is probably one of the baits that I reach for right away. Like you said, it's going side to side. I work it a little, you know, here's the thing, we're working it in a pool, which makes it harder. But when you're casting this bait out, that thing will walk and it'll push water from side to side. And it has that gurgling sound as it's coming through the water. And I know it's hard to do, buddy.
It's hard to twitch it when I have a foot of line.
Yeah, right, exactly. Maybe when we get on the water, we'll be able to put that to work and show people what it does of that. But this is it's probably one of the best sided, you know, walk the dog baits on the market. They're made by Tom's Custom Baits. Tom's company sold to a longtime friend who understands what his baits are. His name is Matt Feldman, and he's going to hold this. Tom is still making the baits. I think Matt's more on the business end, and Tom is still very much involved. But you know, Matt's gonna, I think, take the company to the next level.
Notice
It's an excellent bait.
Notice that cup in in the nose. That's what's really making those bubbles.
Is a very versatile bait. So whether it's calm as glass or there's a slight chop on the water, all right, this is a hard walk the dog bait to beat, and I use it a lot. You know, it's called the Walk of Death. They're not easy to come by. I think Matt's gonna, you know, do more to get the production up, but I think this is definitely one that everybody should have. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the other end of the spectrum, and that is something that, to me, whether it's a glider, whether it's a topwater bait, size does not matter to me. I see musky fishermen now recently, younger guys, the bigger the bait, the bigger the fish. I don't believe muskies can tell the difference in size. My wife's little Chihuahua that weighs 6 pounds will take on my neighbor's 120-pound German Shepherd, and that Shepherd runs away from that little Chihuahua. I don't believe that muskies distinguish size unless they're feeding on a specific school of fish. You go to Lake Vermilion and you've got those 18 to 24 inch whitefish.
Yep.
Well, you're not going to drag a 7-inch bait through that school when they know they're feeding on whitefish. But in northern Wisconsin, all the state of Wisconsin, I don't believe size makes a difference.
No.
I watched you buy a topper today that would be what I consider a larger bass bait.
Yep.
And yet you're going to catch muskies. I know what you're going to do with it. You've proven that those little toppers work great for muskies and big muskies. Size, I don't care. I would debate anybody. Size does not matter when it comes to baits. Mass matters when you have a chop on the water, whether it's the size and the size of the blade. So, saying that is this. Chaos makes a bait called a Big Mama.
Big Mama.
A Big Mama.
Yep.
And I just couldn't throw this bait. And we were on a hot summer day, the water was calm as glass. Calm as glass. I mean, flat. You would never guess it would look like a mirror. And this is the only bait that would bring fish up.
Yep.
And you know this because you've been in the same situation. It's a big bait, but here's what it does. It's got mass, it's got that curve to it.
Moves a lot of water.
It moves a lot of water and it gets those fish going and brings them up. So why don't you go ahead and show that thing?
You didn't see that.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Listen to that. Jared's down there going, ooh, baby.
I love the water.
The curve in that bottle just cups a bunch of water.
Yeah, that's sexy.
How's that new Chaos jerkbait rod work for
Oh, this
Topwater?
The Pursuit. This thing's just sweet for when I walk
That's
the
an
dogs.
8.6 heavy?
8 foot.
It's 8 foot.
8 foot.
8
head.
foot.
So, you see what I'm, you know what I was saying.
Yep.
And I think everybody could hear that bait. Jared's standing behind us, and Jared's eyes got real big. When that water is calm, like flat calm, and it's this topwater will bring up fish
Yep.
when no other topwater will. I mean, so I've definitely, this is always in my arsenal. This is, for years, I just got, it's too big, it's too much. But this bait is top notch in those conditions. So this is kind of cool. You know, I told you, a lot of these guys think bait makers just come out and they build baits and they throw them on the market. I don't have it here. And again, I've got it with me. It's in the box in the boat. It's raining out. People know what a SRJ is.
Yep.
You know, it's a pandemonium SRJ. It's really a really unique. It's kind of a dive and rise, or in my case, I call it chop bait. But it rolls and it flashes and that does a lot of things that that dive and rise baits don't do. Excellent bait. So all of a sudden, here's this prototype, that we get our hands on, and this is his version of a walk the dog bait.
I'm just gonna say this fun fact. This looks like a chipmunk, color-wise.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of chipmunks.
What?
Yeah.
Come
You didn't know that?
on.
Nope.
Why are you afraid of chipmunks?
There's one that lives right near a step, and he scares me every time.
Really?
Yeah. Not even kidding. Fun fact.
It's like a chipmunk in distress.
This thing really throws water.
What'd you think of that, Fisher?
You know, it actually throws a good amount of water, which is different than any other walk the dog. It's kind of throwing it in the air, making a different sound.
I agree. But
Yep.
here's the thing, you know, just like the SRJs, look, Kevin has worked very hard to make the SRJ, the Pandemonium SRJ, what it is. And he's definitely done that again with this walk the dog bait. My interest in this bait was the fact that I love walk the dog baits. If you and I went fishing tomorrow, we're gonna throw a topwater bait. Most of the time, I'm gonna reach for a walk the dog bait.
Yep.
And that's just me. Now, is it the right thing to do always? No, but I love throwing these. And very seldom do I find a bait that after listening to it and working it, that in order for a bait, the bait's got to really turn me on before it gets into my, this is part of my collection. I run buckets, and this bait here, I'm gonna have 3 or 4 of these. I'm gonna get all that I can because it's an awesome bait. So I think he's calling this a skip and walk. You know, it's a new, like I said, this is a prototype. He's been playing with it for a long time. This bait is made by Pandemonium. It is going to be released this year at the Wisconsin, well, not just the Wisconsin Musky Expo, all Musky Expos that they participate in. You will not find these in stores. They are at the sports shows and or, you know, going direct. These baits take a long time to make, as do the SRJs. That's why they don't let stores have them. It's not that they don't want to, it's just, it takes a long time to make these.
Yep.
You know, because of the material they're using. But this has found its place, you know, insulated. They call us a baby duck, so I hope that doesn't scare you now, okay? But it's an awesome walk the dog, and it belongs in your box. So those are the 3 topwater baits. I kind of go into toppers. We were talking about, you know, before, most musky fishermen, when they reach into their tackle box, they're going to reach for a tail bait. Everybody's got one, just like bucktails. This here is one of the popular ones. This is a Lake X, you know, Dr. Evil. It's one that, you know, if I'm going to throw a tail bait, I'm going to use. It does a good job, you know, especially in calm water.
We got one just like that.
Yeah.
Except ours is a little more chewed up.
Exactly. Well, I've got lots of them. I always end up when here's my issue. When I go to, instead, I put all my baits in buckets. I fish in different sections of the river, so my baits are in buckets. Well, in order to get ready for this, everybody thinks that you just grab a bunch of baits and you do something like this. That's not the case. My buckets are set up, so I just take stash of new baits so we can do these videos.
Yep.
Because and you know as well as I do, doing these videos is a lot of work. It's not easy. You're laying this stuff out, you know, so you can do the show, then you shoot the videos, you're dealing with the weather. Look at last night. You went out with Brian Schaefer till 1 o'clock in the morning. You came back, you got an hour and a half of sleep, and we got up to go back on the water.
Don't forget about the extra hour.
Oh, that's right. I did give you an extra hour. So Fisher, you got an extra 2.5 hours, but you know, like your dad, he's got heart issues. I've got heart issues. I got some sleep. Not as much, because I think I was talking to you via text, you know, at 12:30, and you were answering me. I think you got a fish last night, right? They're just gonna have to watch that video because, you know, then they'll see what you did. But these are not ever easy to do. So anyways, I just take stash I have. If you see a bait here, it's because I really like it. And so therefore I've got stash of baits when one gets tore up. So this is from the stash. This is a Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil.
Yep.
All right.
Now do me a favor and work it how I work that bait in the fall.
Yep, I was thinking that.
There's you can take the same bait and you got two different presentations out of it. What you did was a really good presentation, especially for the summer months. Now crawl it as slow as you can almost count the rotation. You get that, you do that in September.
Or as well, if you're fishing in the summer, if you're fishing at night, you could also crawl at a similar speed.
We were doing that actually with Cannonball Jr. last night. Speed is another key factor.
Speed is key.
Jason, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because as Fischer was doing that, that's exactly what I was thinking. People will go and buy one of these from the store and they'll burn it. And I'm not saying that's bad. When you have warm water conditions, the fish will eat that. But in the month of September, you slow that bait down. A Booker Topwater is very good for doing that with. American hardwoods.
In the month of June, when you got 60 to 63 degree water temp.
Exactly, I agree. The point of it is this, you know, the rule of thumb with topwater baits, the smaller the blade, the calmer the water. The more choppy, the more waves that you have on the water, the bigger the blade. And because you need that, to create that sound. If you listen closely to this bait coming through the water, you could still hear it. It still had that distinct pitch. So I have a tendency to use these, the Dr. Evil, in calm, flat, and or like a slight chop on the water. Once you get that chop, okay, then I go to a bait like a Little Sister, a Chaos Little Sister. Look at the size here. Look at the size of that tail. Other two Lake X lures that they make, they've got the Dr. Evil, and they make a fat bastard. Okay, I'm not swearing. It's the name of the bait. You can see the difference in the size of the tails. Okay, and so flat, calm, slight chop on the water. But when it's a heavier, if some waves, like last night, we were out fishing while you guys were out fishing with Brian. We were out there, and we had definitely waves on that. You notice that?
Yeah.
All right, so you go put that Little Sister on. There's a multitude of companies that make good tail baits. This is a Chaos Little Sister. You got Lake X. Tops makes a bait called a small dog. That's a great bait. Big Game or Big Tackle makes a Little Rooster. That's another bait out there that you can check out. There's some good tail baits on the market. These are just some that we've used extensively and have done well with.
A little is a lot when it comes to those, when you're tuning those baits.
I like that. Still getting that little bit of that pop, but it's inconsistent. It's an inconsistent pop.
So as I'm sitting here in the chair right now, I'm sitting back and listening to these baits coming through the pool. If you listen very carefully, when we were throwing the Dr. Evil, it had that nice deep crack, but it wasn't really moving a lot of water. The minute he put that little sister on, all of a sudden, you notice how when it was coming through the water, it was actually pushing the water to the side. So when you've got a heavy chop or waves on the lake, that's exactly what that big tail is going to do. It's gonna move the water aside to make that sound so that the fish can pick up the vibrations that it's putting through the water in order to, come in and eat it. So, again, a bigger blade, the heavier the chop you have, the more tail you want on that bait. Okay. Fisher?
Yep.
I saw you pick up one of these at the store today. You were replacing it, weren't you?
Yep.
There you go. You put it down.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah, you need that college money. You're saving that college money, aren't you? Or you're gonna go to the trades, aren't you?
Yep.
What are you gonna do when you get older?
Probably electrician.
And I think that's an awesome choice. I know when you were younger, you wanted to be a bass fishing pro, but I think as you've gotten older,
Dreams can still come true.
that's right. You can still keep doing this. But you know what? I was so happy to hear that you were going to go into the trades, because as long as you can always work with your hands, you'll always make a living, So that being said, we talked about the tail baits. I did that because, again, so many people are using tail baits. I've kind of switched my gears towards where I fish the walk the dog baits a lot, or I fish toppers. And I know you've got an old Cisco Kid topper that you absolutely love. It's a good bait, especially like those old ones. This here is made by TR Toppers. This is a bait that I've done well with because I fish dark water. It's a topper, but if you notice, the 2 points are a little bit larger. And so therefore in that darker water, I like the larger blades.
And those blades are brass.
These are brass blades, okay? So I think this is the bait that they call the tater topper. Again, it's one of those baits that are very limited. They only make so many, and usually you have to get them at the Wisconsin Musky Expo in order to get so, or you've got to contact, Tim Radis and see if you can't, get them to make one.
Toppers are, in my opinion, the most underrated topwater bait there is. Show what speed you use them this spring. How you
Opening weekend. Look at my reel. See how slow that bait's coming in? You don't need to go any faster than that. When that water temp is super cold on opening weekend, run that super slow. And the fish, a lot of times, will just suck it in. And that could just, I'm not gonna complain about a bite opening weekend. I mean, I know the week after opening weekend, I got a 47 crawl on a topper just like this, super slow.
The last topper that Fischer, he's exactly right. That bait, you run it super slow, cool water conditions, and you're gonna get bit. I mean, they also work in the month of August. Topper can work really well. When I work a topper in August, I'm usually a bait. I've already tuned this one, Fischer. The blades are bent. A lot of people know I like to modify baits. Many times I've modified baits for people, and they go, this bait doesn't make any sound, and then I modify it, and then it's a whole different bait.
Yep.
So unfortunately, that's the way it is when you buy a musky bait. It seems like today younger guys are going, well, if I'm going to buy a bait, it should be fixed exactly how I'm going to use it. we've been modifying baits for 50 years. Why should it change, okay?
Yeah.
You know, it's just learn the art of musky fishing or take up golfing. I don't know. It just, you know, you got to.
When you're fishing with a bobber for crappies, your bobber isn't set to the right depth on
Exactly. You know, so when the water warms up or I want to make more commotion with the topper, you know, I use a 2-point or I use something like this where it's called a 4-banger, and this is the bait that I normally use. Again, there's that's made by TR, by my specifications, and I know he brings them to the show, or you can custom order those.
A lot of metal to metal noise.
The next bait we're going to talk about is a bait that's been around for a long time. That's basically called a globe. There's many variations of globes on the market. There was a globe at one time I made called the Cyclone. And the company that made the Cyclone, they sold the company. Long story short, the company burned down. They never bought the company back. Here recently, a man from central Wisconsin, Dick Manhart, brought the Cyclone back on the marketplace. They're limited, you know, they're not easy to get, but you know, they are out there. Dick goes to the Wisconsin Muskie Expo. The only difference we did with the Cyclone is we elongated the head, which holds it up. And I think when you see this come through the water, you'll understand, you know, the difference in the original. Your dad will understand this when he sees it. But this bait here is accounted for a lot of big fish.
Also, the same bait that we will be giving away at the end of the video, for how you guys can learn
Okay.
how to get this bait.
Well, another key thing with a globe is you want it. This is a slow bait. Again, it's accounted for a lot of big muskies in the state of Wisconsin. I know in Minnesota they like them a little bit louder. This is a little bit quieter. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and put that one in the water.
That sounds good.
So what'd you think, Fisher?
That's one of the sweetest sounding globes I've ever thrown, actually.
It's kind of on the verge of being quiet, but yet it's got sound.
It's got enough sound.
Again, when Dick, when he elongated the head on this bait, it wasn't like he just made it longer and put it in the market. He took it step by step by step as he was putting this together.
Yep.
And he finally did. It's got a nice chatter to it. Same thing. These are, you know, they're available. You can contact, you know, Cyclone Bait Company, or look them up, you know, on Facebook, Cyclone Bait Company, and contact them direct. I know he's got a couple stores. I think he's got Jenks Bait and Tackle, and Hayward carries them. His globes are big on the Chippewa flowage,
Yeah.
but I don't think you even have one of these, do you?
No.
I know your dad's got some of the older Cyclones, right? You got quite a few, don't you? Look at him. You can tell he's tired. Last night really wore on him. So, hey, be happy you caught a muskie last night. So, I'm gonna let you have this one, buddy. I know you
Nice
love
fish.
that orange.
You can't go wrong with orange and black.
No. I know in your neck of the woods where you fish, I know that's your favorite.
Everywhere.
But you're gonna give away that black and yellow one.
Yep, this is the one that we're giving away. At the end of the video, stay tuned.
Okay, the last of the baits that I've got here,
Yep.
you know, in this category, these are all what I would consider search baits. Depending on the degree of chop on the water will dictate what bait I'm gonna use, and we discussed that. This is a bait that came out last year. I'm digging this bait, I really am. I know, you know, you're not quite sure. You fish a lot of fast water, but in flowage type situations, the river, you know, the parts of Wisconsin, this has been a tremendous bait. This is made by Lake X. It's called a Hammercock. That's the name of the bait. And all I can say is the guy, you know, they played with this bait for like 2 or 3 years, and there was a tremendous amount of fish, over 45 inches, caught on this bait. They finally got it dialed in to where they were happy with it, and they brought it to the market. I'm gonna tell you something, this bait here, I think I own like about 5 of them, and I treasure every one of those. I guard those because they're not easy, again, they're not easy to get, so why don't you put that in the water nice and slow. So, anyways, the last bait fish in the water is the Hammercock from Lake X. Definitely has earned a place in my box as a staple bait, and again, it's one that's going to stay and it'll prove its worth. You know, in the many years I'll be fishing this bait. So, anyways, the baits we just talked about is what I would call a search bait. So instead of making this really difficult, you know, and having creepers, and actually the walk the dog is a bait that you can, if you've got fish in a located area, you can walk that bait real slow through there. It kind of works like a hog wobbler, but a hog wobbler, a creeper, but by far and away the #1 bait that I use when, you know, I got fish located and I want something slower, you know, I use a Moldy's hog wobbler. This bait has accounted for so many big fish, but at the same time, I kind of change them because I fish current.
Yep.
You know, like you, my current is slower. Yours, I think, is a little bit quicker where you're fishing. You know, I have a tendency to modify the bait, and this is a regular size. I kind of knock the, you know, the V's off of it. You know, put some heavier screw eyes into it, epoxy them in. So I don't lose, you know, they don't come apart because it is a jointed bait. Put a different blade on, but this is the regular version. You and your dad have a tendency to use the Husky jerks, or Husky hog wobblers, and it's also a very good bait. I'm going to let you tell everybody what you do, but go ahead.
First of all, if we come close here, you're gonna want to upsize this hook, and there's no split ring, so we usually add a split, usually snip it off, add a split ring, and just upsize the hook. Then you're gonna want to add a split ring to the eye, so you can actually hook it on, because sometimes it can be hard. And then what you want to do is take these 2 screw eyes in the middle, and what you want to do is twist it 1 full rotation. And holy crap. What that does is allows you to run that bait a little bit faster and have a faster knocking. And yeah.
Well, here's the thing. you know, exactly what you said.
Yep.
On the regular, I'm actually taking the wings off of it in order to do the same thing that you're doing with this bait, but you're backing it off. I will mention something to people, you know, you said split ring, you know, and I'm saying this not because it's a commercial, but I'm being honest. There's a lot of different split ring players in the market, but a lot of musky fishermen have a hard time with their split ring players. I have found that this brand here, it's called Xuron,
Yep.
sky blue handle, is probably the best split ring players on the market. It's gonna make it a lot easier for you to change hooks, you know, than some of the players on the marketplace today. It's kind of funny. When you go into the guys that make baits, this is the split ring players that they use when they're manufacturing baits, is the Xuron players. So I just wanted to bring that up because they're hard to come by, but they're starting to show up in the stores. It's a great pair of split ring players, but with a few modifications,
Your bait
it's gonna look like that.
eventually it's gonna look like that. And this has caught many fish over 45, and it's just a great bait. Eventually, once a bait starts to look like this, you know, you have to have a couple in your rotation, because after throwing it for a while, it gets a little waterlogged. But,
Sure.
but that's what wood baits do, right?
Or you buy a new one. That's,
I guess.
you know, it keeps them going. I mean, I think today with a lot of, you know, guys, they think, oh, once they buy a musky bait, they're supposed to last forever. Musky, if you're catching muskies on your baits, they don't last forever. But yet, I gotta give you an example. So there's a minnow bait company. It's made out of balsa. It wasn't a crane bait, but they're balsa baits. The guy sends the bait in and tells the manufacturer that the wires had pulled through the bait. It's balsa. It's soft. It's going to happen. But the guy got a 52-incher on it and sends the bait back to the manufacturer and wants a new bait because it got destroyed. What destroyed the bait was when he put the fish in the net, the hooks grabbed the net and the fish went ballistic because he's trying to lift the fish out of the water.
Yep.
Baits are going to get destroyed. Stop the silliness. Baits get destroyed. You know, it's going to happen. You're fishing for a fish with teeth and size. Baits are going to get destroyed. They're going to come apart, and they're costing more money today, and that's just the way it is. So whether it's a topwater bait, whether it's a minnow bait or a jerk bait, they're gonna, or bucktails, they're gonna get destroyed.
And hopefully, like, people learn something about this video about some topwater baits. And obviously, you said stuff about search baits, you know, stuff that you could throw slower, walk the dogs, different walk the dogs.
Exactly. Baits are not all the same, and I think, you know, we've gone over a lot of this stuff, and I think, you know, you and your dad have worked very hard in trying to help educate people. We don't have all the answers.
Yep.
But we also put a lot of time on the water. You
Can't read
especially.
Musky's minds. But
Remember when you were younger how guys would beat on you that you were a kid?
Yep.
You know what? I think people are starting to learn that you're no joke. You know what? If I was into fishing tournaments, muskies, or if I wanted a partner, you know, for a contest, Fischer, I'd take you all the time. You or Brian Schaefer, one or the other. But you know what? You're a good stick, and the people here need to understand that.
Yep.
And you work hard. You do what it takes to, you know, put fish in the boat. I'd love, you know what? I'm an older guy. I'm on the tail end of things. You're a younger guy. I'd love to crawl into your mind, your brain, and to see what's going on in there. It'd be kind of interesting. I know in my case, my wife says that my brain's a puzzle palace and she doesn't know how to get out. I bet you yours has probably messed up his mind. You know?
well, on that note, I'm gonna let you guys know how to win this globe. So, what you guys are gonna do is comment down below what topwater bait was your favorite and why, what reason. and you know, maybe throw in, if you want to, throw in a or what, which one of these baits has worked for you. So comment that down below, right below this video, and we'll pick all the names in a week or two or so after this video comes out, and we'll put names in a hat, and then pick one random winner to win this bait. So comment down below. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please hit the like, subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next adventure.